I'm Scott Kinman, Town Administrator here in New Durham, and I'm going to take a few minutes and read over our 2017 Town Warrant. So I'm going to begin. The Town Warrant itself is constructed so that the voters are informed of the upcoming budgetary and other business articles for the town. And basically it starts out to the inhabitants of the town of New Durham in the county of Stratford, in the said state of New Hampshire, qualified to vote in town affairs. Important piece to make sure that you register to vote with the supervisors of the checklist. You are hereby notified that the annual town meeting of the town of New Durham will be held on 2 days as follows. First session will be the annual meeting, or also known as our deliberative session, since we're an SB2 town. And that first session, the deliberative session, will be for the 2017 town meeting, shall be held on Monday, February 6, 2017, and that will be at 7 p.m. and it will be at the New Durham School Gymnasium, and that's located at 7 Old Bay Road in New Durham, New Hampshire. And we will have a snow date, which is publicized, and that is February 8th, 2017. The second session of the annual meeting is our actual voting, and that's where the voting will occur for all elected offices, and also voting on the ballot for the warrant articles which have been discussed at the deliberative session. In that second session, the voting on all warrant articles shall be held on Tuesday, March 14th, 2017, and that will be from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. In the New Durham School Gymnasium, also located at 7 Old Bay Road in New Durham, New Hampshire, where they'll be voting by official ballot for the election of town officers and all warrant articles with any amendments that are made at the deliberative session. So the deliberative session is in fact the town meeting portion where there can be dialogue and discussion relative to the warrant articles, and the legislative body, being the body in attendance, can make changes or amendments to those articles, and they're allowed to make budgetary changes as well, and a maximum of a 10% rule. It does apply in regards to the overall budget itself. Article number 1 on this year's warrant is our elected offices, and it states to choose all necessary town officers for the ensuing year. We have quite a slate of elected offices open this year for the ballot, and it is as follows. 1 selectman for a term of 3 years, 2 budget committee members for a term of 3 years, 2 budget committee members for 2 years, and 2 budget committee members for 1 year. This is a new elected office which was approved at last year's town meeting for the budget committee to now be elected. Other elected positions is 1 cemetery trustee for 3 years, 1 library trustee for 3 years, 1 library trustee for 1 year, 1 planning board member for 3 years, 1 trustee of trust funds for 3 years, 2 zoning board of adjustment for 3 years, and 1 zoning board of adjustment for 2 years. So those are the elected offices, and you can sign up with the town clerk's office for those elected offices. Sign up began actually last Wednesday, which was January 25th, I believe, and it runs through this Friday, which is February 3rd. So please stop in and see the town clerk, and she will register you for one of those elected offices. Article number 2 this year is a zoning amendment, and I'll read that, and there'll be further information coming forward from one of our planning board members, Jeff Allard, who is an alternate on the planning board, and he'll give a more descriptive overview of the changes in the zoning ordinance. But I will read the article so that it stays in succession. Article 2, are you in favor of the adoption of the amendment to the existing town zoning ordinance as proposed by the planning board? The proposed amendment establishes a new Mare Meeting watershed overlay district. And Jeff will go in and explain that. That is a majority vote required on that article, and the planning board recommends this article by a 4-0 vote.
I'm Jeff Allard, and I live at 363 South Shore Road in New Durham, and I'm an alternate member of the planning board. I'm the most recent member of the New Durham Planning Board, and I'm a co-author of a new proposal for the Mare Meeting Watershed Overlay District, and I'd like to just describe that to you briefly. The background to the Watershed Overlay District is that there's been an effort ongoing for many years now to protect Mare Meeting Lake and its surrounding watershed. And the reasons for that are quite straightforward. This is a very unusual and unique natural resource that we have, and it lies almost entirely within the borders of the town of New Durham. There's been a lot of discussion in recent years about how towns need to band together in order to protect the lakes and the watersheds in our state. In our case, we're in a unique circumstance where the town of New Durham encompasses the entire Mare Meeting Lake in its entirety, and the watershed. So we're in a unique position to take action and to preserve and to protect this very unique and valuable resource. We think it's a valuable resource for the obvious reasons. It's a recreational resource. It has a state boat launch. Hundreds of boaters come in every summer from states all over New England and beyond in many cases. So we have boating, we have swimming, fishing, water skiing. We even have a water ski camp on the shore of the lake that operates in the summertime. The surrounding watershed is equally important to us in the sense that it is an important wildlife area. Bears, moose, bobcat, fisher cat, martins, pine martins, all kinds of animals call the Mare Meeting Lake watershed home. And so we think there's many good reasons to protect this watershed. In addition, the watershed is fragile. There are over 90% of the soil within the Mare Meeting Lake watershed is classified as either erodible or very erodible. So, and in addition, many of the slopes surrounding the lake are quite steep. In fact, many of them fall under another overlay district within the town of New Durham called the Steep Slopes Overlay District. So there are many important reasons to protect the Mare Meeting watershed. It's also a very unique natural resource in the sense that it's one of the few remaining Class A lakes within the state of New Hampshire. It's always and consistently in the top 3 lakes in our state in terms of water clarity and the cleanliness of the lake. So a very important resource. We're trying to protect that resource, and we're trying to minimize the threat of overdevelopment in the watershed surrounding the lake. And you might ask, well, why now? The lake's been there forever, and why do we feel that we need to protect the watershed today? Well, the important genesis behind moving forward with this proposal in recent months was that there is about a 2,000-acre parcel on the south shore of Mare Meeting Lake. It's owned by a New York development firm. In 2008, they came to the town and proposed a 220-unit housing development on the shore of the lake. And that development that proposal was ultimately withdrawn, largely because of the economic conditions that prevailed at the time. But the land is up for sale again. It's been for sale for several months. It remains for sale. And so we feel that it's important at this time to enact a new overlay district, as new zoning proposal that would minimize the impact of development in the watershed surrounding the lake and thereby protect the lake. The most important aspects to the proposal are the following. The lot size would be a minimum of 12 acres, and in a moment I'll explain why we chose 12 acres and why we feel that's important. The second is that only single-family homes would be allowed within the watershed. There would be no building within the skyline in order to protect the view shed within the lake. And there also would be no open conservation subdivisions. The reason for that is simply that we found with the Red Oak Ridge proposal that they were clustering houses on the flat land, flatter land, where development was more feasible, and then justifying large numbers of homes with surrounding greenbelt areas. And that in fact is what the open conservation subdivision proposes that people do, but it can in fact lead to overdevelopment in this case. Why did we choose 12 acres? We actually began with 6 acres as a minimum. And to be honest, we encountered some resistance from citizens within the town, both at planning board meetings and just in private conversations that we had with folks. And what we realized a couple of really important things. The first is that New Durham is a town in New Hampshire, and we are the live free or die state. And it's not just a throwaway motto in the case of the state of New Hampshire. This is who we are. And people in the state of New Hampshire don't like to be told what to do and how to handle their land. So we also realized that, we realized this quite early on, we couldn't come forward with a proposal that looked like the landowners and homeowners on Merry Meeting Lake were turning the watershed into their own private playground. And that is not our intent, and we recognize how important it is that this proposal be of benefit not just to homeowners on Merry Meeting Lake, but to everyone within the town of New Durham. And so that's all part of how we came up with the 12 acres. A number of people said to us, well, why are you telling us what we can do and what we can't do? And we originally had things like you couldn't cut the trees on the land, and for the obvious reasons, trying to protect the watershed. But there was resistance to that. Why can't I have a garden? Why can't I have animals? Why can't I timber the land? These are things that are guaranteed by the state, and they're allowed in other areas. Why are you trying to restrict us? So fortuitously, 2 things happened. One is that I was speaking with a former town forester, who is Dennis Thorell. He's a neighbor down the road on South Shore Road. And he was quite resistant to the whole proposal, didn't like it. And he gave me, however, the Handbook of Forestry, the New Hampshire Handbook of Forestry Practices. And I learned some really important things in reading through that. Most importantly, that the state of New Hampshire takes the position that they want to preserve open lands. 84% of the state of New Hampshire is forested, and that is very representative of the state. That's who we are. We are a rural state, mountainous, highly forested areas. We want to maintain open lands, and we want to maintain that image that we enjoy here. And the way that the state of New Hampshire has declared that they're going to try and preserve open lands is through allowing timbering and agriculture on these lands. No municipality is allowed to interfere with a landowner's right to timber or to grow crops or livestock on their land. And they combine that together with the current use tax law, which is a quite aggressive plan that allows landowners to timber their land or to grow crops or livestock and to not have to pay exorbitant tax rates. And in doing that, that combination of 2 factors, it allows landowners to derive profit from their land, and it keeps their taxes low so that they're not forced to sell their land and subdivide it into small housing lots and maximize the value of the land. That made perfect sense to us, in the sense that we would love to see land around the lake put into conservation, but there's not enough money in the world to do that with 12,000 acres of land. So second best is, let's follow the lead of the state of New Hampshire, and let's encourage landowners to keep their lands open through timbering and agriculture, and with the current use tax law. And that led us ultimately to the 12-acre designation. We felt that going larger than 12 acres would lead to a lot of pushback. However, we felt 12 acres made sense for the following reasons, and this was the suggestion that was made to us again by Dennis Thorell, the former town forester. You could put 2 acres into a housing lot or use 2 acres for housing. 10 acres would then be available to be put into current use, and 10 acres is the minimum that can be used to justify current use taxation. Note that the proposal for the watershed overlay district does not require that the 12-acre parcel have 2 acres for a home and 10 acres be put into current use. That's not mandated, but it is the intent of the proposal. And we feel that's appropriate because that will now continue to keep open land open, even at a 12-acre parcel minimum. And it allows plenty of land for people to build homes, build a barn, sheds, whatever it is that they choose to have on their land and to live their lives, but to also have 10 acres of land that would go into current use and minimize the tax burden on the landowner. So we feel that this is an appropriate balance. What we're trying to achieve here is a balance that will protect the Merry Meeting Lake watershed and protect the lake itself. We have to also balance that with the rights of landowners, and we feel that the 12-acre minimum lot size accomplishes that. And third, we have to balance that with the interests of all citizens of the town, whether they live on or around the lake or in the watershed or somewhere else. And one last thing that I forgot to mention is that the lake is very important to the town of New Durham, to everyone in the town of New Durham, because it's the source of greater than 50% of the tax revenue of the town. And so therefore, by protecting the lake in this way, we feel that we're protecting the interests not just of landowners in and around on and around the lake, but all citizens of the town of New Durham. So we feel that it's an appropriate balance between conservation of an important natural resource and the rights of landowners and all citizens of the town of New Durham. And we're very hopeful that you'll join us and support this by voting in favor of this proposed overlay district on voting day on March 14th. Thank you.
The next article is Article number 3, and I'll read that, and it's as follows. Article 3, shall the town raise and appropriate an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $2,751,234. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $2,793,117, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by the provision, action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold a special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, subsection 10 and 16, to take up the issue of the revised operating budget only. This is a majority vote required, and it's noted that the operating budget and default budget includes the library budget as well, and the estimated tax impact for the 2017 proposed budget is $4.59 per thousand assessed valuation, and the estimated tax rate impact for the 2017 default budget is $4.69 per 1,000 assessed valuation. The Board of Selectmen recommends this article by 3-0 vote, and the Budget Committee recommends this article by a 7-0 vote. Now this article, just to explain a little bit, by being an SB2 town, you're required to have an actual operating budget amount and then a default budget amount. The default budget itself speaks to items from the previous year, so in other words, if you default, then you would go back to last year's budget. The changes in that amount would be, we do add in if there's been any changes in the long-term notes and bonds, and that is where our change is this year, that we reduced the default budget by the changes in that anticipation of what those payments will be for the long-term notes and bonds So that is the only change in the default budget compared to last year's overall operating budget. This year's operating budget speaks to the individual accounts for the operation of the actual town budget, and I'll read through those, what was approved by the, what was recommended by the Board of Selectmen, and then what was approved by the Budget Committee this year. And with that, for informational purposes, this is a 1.65% decrease over last year's budget overall, and certainly as a town administrator, I'd like to thank the department heads for their due diligence work, in putting the budget together itself, and the staff overall worked very hard in order to put the budget together, along with the Board of Selectmen, of course. The Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee did charge myself and the department heads in putting together a budget that was either a negative 1%, but no more than 1% increase. So we tried with due diligence to meet that with the operating budget. And we're able to actually be slightly below. So as I begin, the first account is the executive office account, and the Board of Selectmen recommended that request at $222,373. The Budget Committee approved that same amount of $222,373. The election and registrations, which is the town clerk's office, and also the elections that happen throughout the year. And that budget, Board of Selectmen recommended at $100,072, and the Budget Committee recommended the same amount and approved it at $100,072. The financial administration, which oversees the or has the tax portion and also the finance operating staff here at the town, that was Board of Selectmen recommended $100,471, and the Budget Committee approved $100,471. On the assessing department, the request by the Board of Selectmen was $43,705, and the Budget Committee approved $43,705. Should be noted that these requests are in sync with last year's amounts, with the only variation centered around wages as far as an increase from last year so far. On the legal side, the Board of Selectmen has recommended $30,000, and Budget Committee has approved $30,000. The Personnel Administration, Board of Selectmen has approved $38,803, and the Budget Committee has approved $38,803. Personnel Administration speaks to, just to let folks know, that has in there anticipated wage increases for staff. It also has in there anticipation of anyone who may change during the year based upon either hiring and or changes within the department. For an example, an employee goes from a one-person to a two-person health insurance plan, or from a two-person to a family plan. We do budget some monies in there to help departments in those changes. The next item is the Planning Board's budget, and the Board of Selectmen has recommended $3,075, and the Budget Committee has approved $3,075. The Zoning Board budget is Board of Selectmen recommended at $1,001, and the Budget Committee has approved $1,001. General Government Buildings is the Board of Selectmen has recommended $27,656, and the Budget Committee has approved $27,656. The general government buildings is for general maintenance of several of our town facilities. The town hall is one of the larger buildings, historic building as well, for maintenance and upkeep here at the facility, and support within the actual operating side of the budget. There's also monies in there to assist with the cleaning of our town hall community room, which is located at the fire station, and also for cleaning at the police station as well. The next budget is the cemetery budget, and that is recommended by the cemetery trustees, and the Board of Selectmen has recommended, along with the trustees, $5,200, and the Budget Committee approved $4,000 in that budget. Basically, the variance there was relative to the Budget Committee felt that there may be other perpetual care funds that may be available through trust accounts that are existing that could help offset some of the additional expense, and they estimated the $1,200 variance there could be out of trust funds. The insurance line item is the next one, and that is recommended at $52,000 from the Board of Selectmen and approved by the Budget Committee at $52,000. The insurance line takes care of our property liability insurance for the town for all town facilities and equipment and vehicles. The next one is other general government, and that is at $7,800. That is recommended by the Board of Selectmen and approved by the Budget Committee. And other government, general government items speaks to a variation of funds that are requested from the town to help support outside services. The next item is the police department's budget, and the Board of Selectmen has recommended a budget of $488,079, and the Budget Committee has recommended a budget of $501,120. This is a decrease over last year's budget, but is in fact more than what the Board of Selectmen has recommended. That variation in that budget speaks to the request for a 5th full-time officer, which would start in mid-year, in and around July 1. So it's actually funding for 2017 for a 4.5 full-time member force for the department. The fire department is the next budget, and that is recommended at $220,995, and that's the Budget Committee has also approved $220,995. That is for the general operating expenses for the fire department, payment of staff, and support services for that department. The building inspector budget is approved or recommended by the Board of Selectmen at $32,070, and the the Budget Committee has approved $32,070 for that department. That speaks to a part-time building inspector and also a deputy or an assistant and some clerical support as well. The emergency management budget is Board of Selectmen recommends $753, and the Budget Committee has approved $753. This will be to seek and find a individual in the community who would be willing to serve as our emergency management director and provide them with a financial stipend to assist with that, and also to provide some educational training services as well. The next budget is forestry budget, and Board of Selectmen recommends $13,499. Budget Committee has approved $13,499. That's to handle the operations for the fire department's forestry side of the budget. Next item is the highway department budget, and that is for $829,556. The budget committee has also approved the $829,556. This is to pay for all expenses for the highway department for general maintenance, snow and ice work that they do during the winter months, pays for all their supplies that they use for de-icing, for plowing, overtime, staff wages, and also to do the general maintenance of our town roads. The next item is our solid waste budget, and the solid waste budget is for the operation of the transfer station. Board of Selectmen has recommended $246,392, and the budget committee has also approved $246,392. This takes care of the disposal of all of our solid waste, household garbage, and all other collected recyclables for their disposal. We do receive some revenue from recyclables at the facility, and that does help offset some of our expense for disposal of those, and also it takes care of the disposal of construction debris along the scrap metal and so on. So the next item is our health officer budget, and that's for $2,355. The budget committee has also approved $2,355 for the health officer. The other agencies is recommended by the Board of Selectmen at $3,042, and the budget committee has increased that, and that is to $6,500. This increase spoke to after the budget committee received input from the outside social services that the town does help and support. That would be the Stratford County, Tri-County CAP group there for helping out with fuel assistance and other types of assistance as well. Our VNA services and hospice services that are here for the community as well. And also this year we'll be also assisting the Kingswood youth program for assisting with some financial support for their after-school program and other programs that they do which impact New Durham youth. The next item is welfare budget, and that's at $12,208. And the budget committee approved $12,208. That's for any services that are needed for folks who apply and need additional assistance. The recreation department budget, Board of Selectmen has recommended $61,182, and the budget committee has approved $61,182. The town historian budget, Board of Selectmen recommended $175, and the budget committee approved $175. Culture and recreation, $515 recommended by the Board of Selectmen, and the budget committee approved $515. And the Conservation Commission, and their budget is at $1,795 recommended by the Board of Selectmen, and the budget committee has approved $1,795. For long-term notes and bonds, this would be for, we have a couple bond payments that the town has, And those bond payments with interest, the Board of Selectmen recommends the payment amounts of $67,733, and the Budget Committee has approved $67,733. The library budget, which was presented by the librarian and library trustees, they have put forth a budget. They recommended a budget of $124,379. The Budget Committee, after review, has approved $123,430, and this gives a total operating budget of $2,751,234, and that is reflective of between last year's budgeted and approved amount of approximately 1.65% decrease. So that is part of the actual operating budget that you'll be voting on at deliberative session. So we'll go on back into our warrant articles, because there are some other special warrant articles which are budgetary in nature as well. The article number 4 of our budget speaks to see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $330,000 for the purposes of a road program, with $111,000 to come from the highway block grant aid, and $162,000 to come from the road construction capital reserve fund, and the remainder of the $57,000 to come from taxation. So this is a majority vote required article. The estimated tax rate impact is 14 cents per 1,000 assessed value, and the Board of Selectmen recommends this article by a 2-to-1 vote. The Budget Committee recommends this article by a 7-0 vote. The road program itself speaks to road paving and construction, and the road agent has put together a series of roads which he would recommend for those types of treatments. With our road program this year, the Public Works Director and his staff have put together some recommended road segments to be worked on, and give you a brief overview of those areas. These are to be determined further based upon pricing and bidding. Some things may stay, some things may go, based upon how we fit that all into the budget. But based upon some preliminary estimates, it appears that this work should be able to be completed with the dollar amounts of our road program put together. So with that, they would be looking to do some repair, leveling, shimming of pavement, and that would be on Birch Hill Road, basically from the library here at the intersection of Old Bay to Brackett Road intersection. And then also they would be looking to do some reclaim, which would be actual, in that would also have some grinding up of the pavement surface, and that would be from that, in that same area. So you would have the reclamation work that would be done first, and then you would have the repaving work to be done subsequent to that. Also in the same neighborhood and same area would be to do what they call a shim and overlay of the March Drive, which is adjacent to the same road segment. The next area to be done would be on Brackett Road, and that would be from Tash Road to Birch Hill. In that section, that would also be a reclamation where they would reclaim the current asphalt that's there and re-level that and grade it, compact it, and then also to repave that. And then another road segment would be on Old Bay Road from Tash Road to the New Durham town line, and that would be a repaving only operation. It would be, again, this year, be looking at doing some chip sealing, which is a liquid asphalt application, and have chip stone, which is very fine, 3/8 stone, which is actually put into the asphalt and then rolled in. That gives another wearing course or a layer on there of protection, and also some crack sealing as well. And that would speak to the $330,000 that has been requested for work on our roads. On Article number 5 of this year's warrant, this is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $170,000 to be placed in previously established capital reserve funds as follows, with the said funds to come from taxation. The police cruiser account of $12,500, the 1772 Meeting House restoration account at $10,000, the fire truck account at $50,000, the highway equipment account at $7,000, the purchase of solid waste facilities equipment at $5,000, the public safety facilities improvement at $5,000, municipal facility land acquisition at $5,000, the fire department ancillary equipment at $5,000, and the library facilities account at $13,000, the Smith ball field and equipment at $7,500, and then the road reconstruction account at $50,000, being a total of $170,000. This is a majority vote required article, and the estimated tax rate impact is 42 cents per 1,000 assessed valuation. The Board of Selectmen recommends this article 3-0 vote, and the Budget Committee recommends this article by a 7-0 vote. These warrant articles have been previously established over the course of many different years, and they add to those accounts so that they can be tapped for assistance in expenditures throughout the year for different improvements or purchases of equipment. The Board of Selectmen are the agents to expend. In the Article number 6 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $65,000 to be placed in previously established expendable trust funds as follows, with said funds to come from taxation. The computer and office maintenance account at $10,000, the accrued benefits liability account at $25,000, and the town buildings and improvements account at $30,000, for a total of $65,000. This is a majority vote required, and the estimated tax rate impact is 16 cents per thousand assessed valuation. The Board of Selectmen recommends this article by a 3-0 vote, and the Budget Committee recommends this article by a 7-0 vote. These expendable trusts are for maintenance type items, different from the capital reserve, which are more of capital purchases. So these funds were previously established by the legislative body at other times in past town meetings, and therefore more or less maintenance driven expenditures throughout the year. And the Board of Selectmen are agents to expend. On Article number 7, to see if the town will vote to change the purpose of the existing, quote, fire trucks capital reserve fund, CRF, to the, quote, fire vehicles capital reserve fund, and designate the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend. This requires a 2/3 vote required. The Board of Selectmen recommends this article by a 3-0 vote. Last year, the Board of Selectmen learned that this type of language may be too restrictive for the fire department to purchase something other than an actual truck. And the definition of a truck may not be all-inclusive of a fire command car or a support utility type vehicle, because it may not be designated as a truck. So this broadens the ability for use of funds in the account for other support type vehicles for the fire department for those purposes. The 2/3 required is whenever you make a change, according to statute, whenever you make a change in a purpose of a warrant article, it does require that 2/3 vote for passage. Article number 8 is to see if the town will vote to discontinue the reevaluation capital reserve account, CRF, that was created by Article 12 at the March 15, 2000 town meeting. Said funds with accumulated interest to date of the withdrawal are to be transferred to the town's general fund. This is a majority vote required, and the Board of Selectmen recommends this article by a 2-1 vote. The board had brought this forward as there has been a change in how they do their reevaluations. Reevaluations by statute need to, which is basically assessing and looking at all the property values in town. By statute, that needs to be done every 5 years. And the board has moved into a process where they will do that in leading up to the 5 years, where they will take a percentage over a 5-year period annually and look at those values and assessments in a cynical approach where they take a percentage each year in order to get to the 5 years. This helps spread out the reevaluation. It allows it to be, some feel, more thorough in having that ability to do that. In years 4 and 5, they cumulatively pull that all together and then put together the actual changes in the reevaluation. So the actual values themselves will take place every 5 years still, but this process is believed to be a little bit more thorough. With that in mind, the 2 board members that voted in favor of this article felt that the monies that were in the account were more than what would be actually needed at this given time, and felt that it should be funded in the actual operating budget. So that'll be now for the voters to decide whether they would like to do that in that process. Article number 9, which is our last warrant article, which is to conduct any other business which may legally come before the town. So these are the 9 warrant articles that we have for this year in our budget and actual operating decisions that need to happen. And a couple informational purposes for you for further research if you have questions about any of the warrant articles. First of all, they are posted on our webpage. They're actually posted on the front page, which is, as you open it up, you'll see a public notice item right in the middle of the page, and the PDF versions of each one of the posting articles, which is the warrant itself, the public information relative to the Merritt Meeting Watershed Overlay District is also in there. Our 737 form, which is a state DRA form, which is a lot of the numbers that you just heard me read over with you, and it also gives you some accounting information as to what last year's budget amount was. It gives you what the expended amount was for 2016, and then the recommended amounts for 2017 by the Board of Selectmen, and what was recommended and approved by the Budget Committee. And also is the default budget is also posted. These are all items that are required by statute to be posted. They need to be posted at the polling place, and you can locate those at the New Durham School in the main entrance on the bulletin board to your right-hand side as you enter, and that is, you're able to access that area. And then they're also posted here at the town hall, directly across from the town clerk's office on the bulletin board. The warrant itself is posted outside on the bulletin board in the parking lot. It's also posted at the library. We have provided them copies for posting over there for folks to be able to read at the library, that visit the library, and also at the post office. So you can access those in many different places. If you have questions, you can contact the town clerk's office or my office here at the town hall. Phone is 859-2091. You'll go into the automated system, and you can pick either the town clerk or my office, and we're glad to follow up and provide information with folks regarding our upcoming budget process. So I thank everybody for their participation in the budget process this year, and also I hope everybody will be out at our deliberative session. We'll have great attendance and at the polls on March 14th. Thank you.